Level 1, the threshold. The first sign is not a mansion or a sports car. It is a Tuesday night in a restaurant when you order without looking at the right side of the menu. The room is warm, the glassware is heavy, and the waiter is waiting. You realize, halfway through the moment, that you are not doing math anymore. You are not subtracting the cost of dessert from tomorrow's gas money. You are simply choosing. That is when it hits you. Your income has crossed $659,060 a year. Nothing else changes immediately. The world is still the world. Traffic is still traffic. Bills still arrive, but the pressure has loosened. You can breathe in a way that used to feel irresponsible. You leave the restaurant and sit in your luxury car for a moment before starting the engine. The interior smells like leather and money, and for the first time in years, the future does not feel dangerous. Level 2, the cushion. The house comes first. Not a dream house exactly, but close enough that your older self would not believe it. The keys are heavier than expected. The foyer is too quiet. There's space where there used to be clutter, and that emptiness feels almost unreal. By now, your net worth has crossed $10 million, and the money is no longer just income. It has become a shield. You can send the children to the school with the polished front gates and the waiting list. You can hire someone to clean the house before the weekend. You can call a doctor and get seen faster. You can repair the roof without turning it into a family crisis. The effect is subtle but profound. Life stops ambushing you. A broken thing becomes a thing to fix, not a thing to fear. For the first time, the future feels less like weather and more like planning. Level 3, the wall. The invitation arrives in an envelope thicker than the bills you used to dread. A dinner, a private event, a room full of people who know what a 7-figure mistake looks like. You go because refusing would be rude, and because curiosity still wins sometimes. In that room, your net worth is no longer around $50 million in theory. It becomes real in the way people look at you, the way they listen, the way they wait one beat too long before speaking. A founder sits across from you with a pitch deck and a trembling hand. He has not slept in 2 days. He is not asking for charity. He is asking for survival. You could decide his future with one sentence, one nod, one check. That is the wall. Not that you are isolated from the world, but that the world now approaches you differently. Friends begin to feel farther away. Some are proud, some are careful, some stop calling. Nobody says why out loud. They do not have to. Level 4, the insulation. By the time your net worth reaches $100 million, convenience has become a way of life. You do not wait anymore. Not in airports, not on hold, not for repairs, not for appointments. A manager schedules the day, a lawyer handles the documents, a driver opens the door, a planner arranges the trip. A staff member remembers the details you used to forget because you were too busy surviving to notice them. You can spend a summer in one city and the winter in another without feeling the friction of either. You can buy privacy the way other people buy coffee. You can leave ordinary chaos behind with a single decision. But insulation has a cost. You begin to forget how long ordinary people spend worrying about money. You forget the weight of a late notice, the shame of a declined card, the panic of a surprise bill. That kind of memory loss is dangerous because it separates you from the life that made you human in the first place. Level 5, the machine. At $250 million, money stops being comfort and becomes force. You are no longer just spending. You are moving pieces. A company comes to you because it needs capital fast. A neighborhood changes because you bought the land before anyone else understood the value. A hospital wing gets built because your name is on the donation. A politician returns your call because your endorsement changes the map. You can make things happen. That is the new reality. The strange part is that most of the time, you still look normal from the outside. A dinner jacket, a polite smile, a calm voice. But behind that calm is machinery. Advisors, accountants, lawyers, assistants, investment officers, all turning your money into influence and your influence into more money. People no longer ask what you do. They ask what you own, what you back, what you can move. Level 6, the summit. At $500 million, you no longer enter rooms. Rooms adjust to you. The furniture is arranged differently. The introductions are slower. The deals are larger. You can walk into a meeting and decide whether a business lives or dies. You can fund a new venture, save an old one, or walk away and leave everyone else to explain the gap. You start seeing your own name attached to things you never meant to become part of. Buildings, foundations, committees, endowments, discrete partnerships. Some of it brings genuine meaning. Some of it is just legacy engineering. The difference gets harder to tell. And still, the higher you go, the more the world narrows. You cannot trust flattery. You cannot trust silence. You cannot even trust admiration, because at this level, admiration is often just a softer version of interest. Level 7, the billion-dollar line. The day you cross $1 billion, it does not feel like victory. It feels like a door closing behind you. Now your decisions begin to affect markets, institutions, cities, and people you will never meet. You can fund a product launch that changes an industry. You can buy enough equity to influence the future of a company. You can shape public debate, support causes, create institutions, and redraw the boundaries of what is possible for the people around you. But the emotional cost deepens. Your life becomes harder to read from the inside. You are surrounded by comfort, but not always by honesty. You are admired, but not always known. The gap between what people see and what your life actually feels like becomes impossible to explain. You have entered a place where every move has consequences, and every consequence has a price. Level 8, the empire. At $10 billion, your money stops behaving like personal wealth. It behaves like a system. You can back entire industries. You can create foundations that survive generations. You can purchase influence that outlives headlines. You can build schools, hospitals, research centers, media platforms, and supply chains that shape how people live, learn, and work. Your wealth no longer just supports a life. It begins to define public reality. That is when the loneliness changes shape. It is no longer just distance from old friends. It is distance from ordinary consequences. Most people cannot even imagine the scale you now operate on. Their dreams are local. Yours are structural. Their fears are monthly. Yours are historical. You begin to understand that power at this level is less like luxury and more like responsibility wrapped in pressure. Level 9, the state. At 100 billion, your name starts sounding less like a person and more like a force of nature. You can reshape elections, industries, media narratives, infrastructure, and scientific research. You can determine which technologies accelerate and which ones die quietly in a lab. You can affect the direction of cities, markets, and nations. Governments watch you, rivals study you, the public argues about you. You are no longer simply participating in civilization. You are helping steer it. But the higher the number climbs, the harder it becomes to know who is speaking honestly to you. Everybody has a reason. Everybody wants leverage. Everybody is measuring the distance between what you have and what they need. That is the curse of empire-level wealth. It creates reach, but it also creates suspicion. At some point, you no longer know whether people want your company or your capital. Level 10, 1 trillion. Then comes 1 trillion. The number is so large it stops feeling like money and starts feeling like mythology. At this level, you are not merely wealthy. You are capable of shaping the century. You can build cities from empty land, fund energy systems that power continents, finance space programs, reshape education for millions, and alter the balance of entire economies. You can buy major stakes in the institutions that define modern life and still have enough left to move the future in a direction nobody else can afford to challenge. The power is almost impossible to comprehend. One decision can create jobs across countries. Another can collapse a market. A private vision can become public reality. A preference can become policy. A belief can become infrastructure. And yet, even here, the story is not one of ultimate freedom. It is one of ultimate distance. At $1 trillion, nobody speaks to you without consequence. Nobody asks without calculation. Nobody approaches you without understanding that your attention itself is valuable. You can have the most money in the world and still not have the one thing money cannot create: a life untouched by scale. Because at that height, you do not just own more. You become too large for the world to ignore, too powerful for it to trust, and too far above it to ever feel ordinary again.